get the video, watch it, write down the notes, complete, right, and do the exercise that I have mentioned. It's very important lesson. Even though it's a short lesson, it's a very important lesson. And then the last thing we discussed how carbon dioxide can be prepared. Prepared for what you call preparation of carbon dioxide. But when you say that carbon dioxide is prepared, it has like several areas, such as like first of all, you have to make it chemical reaction. You have to make it in a chemical reaction, and that has to be collected. So then there are two things in the when they say preparing a gas, there are two things. One, chemical reaction. Second, how it is collected. Right? Collected. The gas has to be collected. So it has techniques. Right? We discussed that carbon dioxide is a heavier molecule. We discussed that carbon dioxide is a heavier molecule. Right? It's heavier than air, therefore it will go down. Right? Therefore, we collect it in a downward displacement technique. Right? Downward delivery technique. So, downward delivery. We don't use the word displacement technique. We need downward delivery. That means carbon dioxide is sent down, right, and collect that in a gas jar. And another way that the carbon dioxide was produced, carbonate and acid reaction. That carbon dioxide is also collected in the downward delivery. Is that clear? Right. And in the analysis of carbon dioxide in the previous month, we learned carbon dioxide is tested by using lime water. And lime water is saturated solution of calcium hydroxide. This lime word is there throughout chemistry lessons, right? Therefore, let's get to know these lime words, right? First one, limestone, insoluble in water. Limestone is calcium carbonate, right? And what's lime water? Now, this is not lemon lime, okay? This is not the lemon lime. This is something else. Is that clear? So then lime water is calcium hydroxide aqueous. Calcium hydroxide aqueous. That means you have made a saturated solution of calcium hydroxide solution. And there's another thing called slake lime. Slake lime means a solid. That means you have calcium hydroxide and you have just sprayed some water for you to get like just calcium hydroxide solid, wet solid, right? And then you have quick lime, which is calcium oxide. That means no water, like fully dry white powder, calcium oxide. And calcium oxide and calcium hydroxide are very basic compounds. Calcium carbonate is not that much basic. It's not a base at all. It's a salt. The other two are basic. Did you write this down that day also? Did you write that down? Okay. If not, let me give 1 or 2 minutes for the others to quickly write that down. Yeah. Right. So with this, we are actually done with the gases in atmosphere, all the basics. Now what we need to understand certain pollutant issues related to the atmosphere. Call it atmospheric pollution, which leads to some serious problems in the world, right? So here we are going to learn about two concepts. One is called greenhouse effect. The other one is called global warming. What are the two concepts? Greenhouse effect and global warming. But when you hear greenhouse effect, global warming, that two words are like duck and goose, right? Why? Sometimes we are not sure whether it's a duck or a goose. Yes, they're very similar, right? So greenhouse effect and global warming have a case and then. What is greenhouse effect? What is global? What are they saying? Are they saying? Tell me, talk. They are not saying. They are different. How? How are they different? Then greenhouse? What about you guys? Greenhouse effect and global warming. They are like very similar concepts using scientific articles, or are they different concepts? Oh, science students. Uh, Let me explain you greenhouse effect. Right? The greenhouse effect, before I explain that in the Earth scale of Earth, right? Let me explain that in day-to-day life activity. Right? I'll give you an example. You have experienced greenhouse effect a lot, almost every day after school, probably, maybe after a class. How? Not the greenhouse effect, I'm talking about the earth. The other day, that greenhouse effect is not there today. But the other days, you are experiencing this greenhouse effect almost every day. When and where and how? No idea. Sorry, no, I'm not talking about the greenhouse effect, the actual greenhouse effect in the earth. I'm talking about like a small incident where greenhouse effect lightning happens. Huh? Within this second, go ahead. Come on. It's too tiring for you to think. Come then the example. Have you ever experienced after school when you go to, I'm not saying it's always after school, but most of the time, when your vehicle is parked outside the shelter, exposed to the sun, and it was kept parking for several hours, or maybe like good time. And then you go and open the door. You are hit by a heat shock, isn't it? Actually, like, is the hot vapor, gas. When you go inside the vehicle until you switch on and put the AC, it's like very warm inside, rather than outside. Did you ever think why? Did you ever think why? So when I can feel it was parked under the sun, therefore the sun rays have heated up the car. My question is not there. Even we are like walking under that sun. We are also heated. But why inside the car it is too much heated? Okay, the leather or the seats are being heated. All right, fine. It has absorbed a lot of heat. But why inside the car the air is too warm? Even there it is not very strong sun. If it is parked under the sun, the inside the car is warmer. If it was like close. No idea. Isn't it? මෙන්න මේව කේස් එකක් එනවා. හරි ඔබට heat එක ගිය ඇතුළට. How did the heat go into the car? Huh? It's not written, huh? Absorbing what? Heat. That means heat went into the car. That's what you say? If heat can go in, why didn't it come out? Why was it trapped? Heat එක යන්න පුළුවන් නම් එතකොට එළියටත් එන්න පුළුවන්. Why it waited until we opened the door and went up? What did really go in? Not heat, light energy, UV and visible light. Oh. The sun emits UV and visible light through the windscreen of the vehicle, right? Of the vehicle. The rays have gone in, but when they strike on leather and other areas, some of the rays are converted to IR. Visible light went in, UV light went, but they become IR. So IR is the EMR radiation responsible for heat. Now, the problem with IR is, unlike visible light, IR can't penetrate glass because glass is a poor thermal conductor. Then that IR will be what? Rotating in, circulating inside the vehicle, heating up the vehicle more than the sunlight. You get the point? Then inside the car, it's too warmer. You get it? That's similar to something called what? Greenhouse effect. In greenhouse effect, what goes in? Visible light and UV light and some high frequency IR. And they are absorbed by different substances and they are converted to what? Less frequency energy. You did physics, right? And they become IR. IR will penetrate current back. Therefore, IR will get trapped inside and warming up. How come it is related to the earth? On the story, right? In the earth has this blue planet, right? Right? Earth has huge what? What does it have? Atmosphere, huge one. Several times bigger than the earth itself. Because of the earth gravitational force, it can hold a huge gas. Right? Okay, now what does the sun do? Sun. Here we have the sun with a lot of. This is how we do the sun when you are small. Right? Sun is going to emit a lot of high energy waves like UV visible waves. So then these waves will go through the atmosphere because they have high energy, such as visible light. And some IR, not all IR, some UV, not all UV, because UV is cut down by the ozone layer in the middle, right? But when they strike on the Earth's surface, they become slightly less in frequency and energy. They become IR. Now, unlike visible, IR doesn't have power to what? Go back to the space easily. Yeah, no, but not easy. Right? And in our Earth atmosphere, there are dancing gas molecules. What do you have? What do you have? What molecules did I say? Dancing. Why did I say dancing? Consider water molecule. Do you know the water molecule is keep on dancing in atmosphere as water vapor? Water molecule. My wrist is like 5 digit. And this wrist is also at 5 digit. Because my body is oxygenated and the two arms are the bonds. So these two bonds undergo vibrations like this. Bonds compress, bonds what? Stretch. And we have the mind. Right? And sometimes compress and stretch like this. This is kind of an asymmetrical stretch. Right? Compressing and stretching. And these two bonds have some very interesting vibrations also. They vibrate like this. Right? This is called vacuum. Right? And they undergo scissor vibrations also. So it has many vibrations. Okay? Water molecule like Munavir dance with right? Now these vibrations like IR. Look at me. This is how the normal water molecules stay. When IR, not UV, not visible light, IR energy. When they get IR energy, they vibrate like this. Earlier, right? And when IR energy is struck, then they start vibrating faster. But they can't vibrate faster. And they come back to the normal. When they come back to the normal, that IR they absorb, they give back to the earth. So what happens to the IR? IR can't go back to the space. IR energy is absorbed by these molecules like what? Carbon dioxide, water, molecules like carbon dioxide, water, and other little complex molecules. They absorb IR, send back to the earth. You're not going out IR. You will be in the earth atmosphere for more time. And that warms up the earth atmosphere. And that process is called what? Greenhouse effect. What do you call it? Greenhouse effect. That's the exact thing happens in the greenhouses. Greenhouses were made initially in the cold countries because the plants they can't do agriculture because they are cold. So they made greenhouses. In greenhouses, what happens? The glass that they keep, visible light comes, hit on the plants and everywhere IR is produced. IR can't go out because it can't go through the glass. Then inside the greenhouse, it becomes what? Warmer. Then the plants can grow. That's why it's called what? Greenhouse effect. Are there more the greenhouse effect here? In terms of what? Steps visible light. මැද කෑල්ලනේ. මැද කෑල්ලනේ. මුල ටික අග ටික විතරයි මැද කෑල්ලනේ. එච්චර මෙතන නටලා කරලා පෙන්නුවා නෑ. ඒ ටික ඔළුවට You don't have to mention the vibrations in the O level එක ඉනල් එකක්. හැබැයි ඔළුවට යන්න පොඩ ඉන්ටරෙස්ටිං වෙන කතාවක් කිව්වා. Right. කියන්න මොන මොනවද topic? මොනවද points ටික? Sun emits high frequency waves such as visible light, UV. Some of them strikes on the earth, or some of them are reflected. I mean, not some. I can't say just some of them. Most of them are reflected by the earth, but few are absorbed and converted to what? IR. These IR waves have lower frequency, no need to say that. But IR waves will be absorbed by greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and they will be re-emitted back to the earth, warming up the earth. That's what we call greenhouse effect. Can you write it alone after drawing? Okay, before you write, just tell me it is. Is it good? Is it bad? Oh, what do you say, both? You thought too much, yet you are correct halfway. She was very correct at the beginning. We need greenhouse effect. If the greenhouse effect hadn't happened, this earth would have been just an ice ball. We had ice age. Have you movie same? The whole earth is what? Entirely like ice and sea, right? Very small bit of area became greenish and forest. Otherwise, entirely ice. So the earth became greenish, bluish because of what? The greenhouse effect. If the greenhouse effect hasn't happened, we can't live. So it is needed. Greenhouse effect is good. Hey, but it's good. Otherwise, this will be a frozen planet. Get it? But what happened? I will explain later. Then the end greenhouse effect. You're right. Describe what is greenhouse effect. Describe what is greenhouse effect. Write it in 4 or 5 statements. I know what that. That's a down. Right. Well, greenhouse effect explain. And draw and write. Did you write? You guys drew and draw? You know? Okay, now you write next question. I gave it this as a question, no? Describe what is greenhouse effect. Huh? State for greenhouse gases. State for greenhouse gases. You already have two on the board, right? What are the two greenhouse gases mentioned in the board? Huh? Carbon dioxide and oxygen. What is it? This water molecule. Huh? Water molecules. Oxygen, hydrogen, monoxide. Two more. Any guesses? Huh? No, darling. Oxygen is not man. No. No. Listen. The diatomic molecules with the same atom are not greenhouse gases. They don't absorb IR. So guess? Huh? Methane. Methane is the second or the third most greenhouse gas. Methane, CH4. Yeah, the methane, CH4. Another one? Carbon monoxide, ammonia. True. Any molecule which has three or more atoms or different atoms are greenhouse gases, including sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, unburned hydrocarbons, anything other than diatomic molecules and noble gases are greenhouse gases. But they are not much available in the atmosphere. That's why we can't write all of them. So as a third one, you can write oxides of sulfur, oxides of nitrogen, or even CFC. Have you heard about CFC? In refrigerators which have been banned due to the ozone layer depletion. Lannata viyagan CFCs. Me coolant විදිහට use කරන්නේ. The coolant gas in the AC and the refrigerator. There are some gases called halogens, like CFCs, or they are called chlorofluorocarbon, chloromethane. They are greenhouse gases. But what are the three main culprits? Carbon dioxide, water, and what? Methane. They are the three main culprits of greenhouse gas. They are not culprits either, by the way. They are like doing a service. All right. Then what is global warming? Very good. What's global warming? That's excessive enhanced greenhouse effect. Enhanced greenhouse effect. Too much greenhouse effect. But who is the creator of this too much greenhouse effect? We are the culprits. Not these gases are the culprits. They were existing in the earth, in natural cycles, into the amounts that they are supposed to be in the earth. Okay. Right? But what happens? There was a creature called human, so-called intelligent creature, found how to make fire and did agriculture. And in 19th century, they did, 18th and 19th century and the 20th century, there was something called what? Industrial revolution happened due to the finding of crude oil. Now, how the crude oil comes to this picture and causing the problem? Look, how carbon dioxide was maintained in the atmosphere by nature. How the carbon dioxide to maintain in a very basic way? How carbon dioxide was maintained? We have trees, right? We have trees. And these trees do what? These trees do what? Photosynthesis. Right? They take carbon dioxide into the leaves and they release oxygen. Right? So then what do animals do? Bad drawing skills though. What animals do? Good morning. Right? Animals use oxygen and send carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. Right? So this is photosynthesis. And this is what? Respiration. Right? There are many other ways that oxygen is utilized, like burning and stuff. So then Earth was balancing the amount of carbon dioxide. The Earth is balancing this carbon dioxide and oxygen nicely. How? Photosynthesis, respiration, and bit of burning, bushfire, and all this. But what happened later in the timeline of Earth? This intelligent animal called, no, you don't call animal, human appeared. And the human were in the Stone Age. Then they came to the, what you call, farming age. Then they came to the agricultural age. Then they came to the industrial age. They found what? Underground, huge deposit of what? Crude oil. They found crude oil. Now this crude oil, how crude oil was made? Crude oil has been formula. Crude oil was made due to the decaying of ancient plant and animals. Their bodies, without oxygen, our body, our biomolecules have become these organic liquids due to the pressure and the temperature of the deep soil layers. Unless otherwise, I am not incinerated after my death. If I'm buried, and then if I'm buried and then buried in the deep layers due to the environmental issues, then I'll become a crude oil. But it takes thousands of years. Right? And then the crude oil made from my body will be separated by human into petrol and diesel and will be burnt in a vehicle. So then I will be burnt in a vehicle in another million years' time if the petrol vehicles exist. At the moment, we may be burning a T-Rex in our engine. Right? But we ඇත්ත කියන්නේ. ඔකට තව සයන්ස් ඉගෙන ගන්න ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙයි. Right? Because the huge bodies contain a lot of biomolecules. One, when they were buried because of the catastrophic event happened, and their bodies might have gone in the deep layer of soil with time, and organic matter has been converted to crude oil. And the man has digged the earth and get the crude oil out and put it into the vehicles and burn them and release carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. My goodness, the million years storage has been explored, right, and converted to carbon dioxide and put into the atmosphere. Can the nature balance that amount of carbon dioxide? No. As a result, the carbon dioxide concentration in atmosphere is slowly but constantly increasing after the industrial revolution. And that makes extra greenhouse effect to happen. And that extra greenhouse effect has made the earth to warm up little undesirable way, have made the glaciers to melt for the water level to sea level to rise. Did you watch the movie called Great Flood? I watched recently. Great Flood killer movie like more in a confusing movie. In the asteroid has hit, and due to the quick global warming has happened due to the asteroid hit, all the glaciers have melted to water, and then the flood has come to the height of the buildings, right? And survival. Huh? Then the I think Korean one, right? So then these glaciers melt. If glaciers melt in this world, yeah, definitely what? Doomed, huh? Right? So this global warming, consequence, melting of glaciers, and also climate change. Too much of it. That's what happened to us in last November. Because of a sudden rise in temperature nearby the ocean, Indian Ocean, there was a huge evaporation of seawater into the atmosphere, and it got condensed as a storm and condensed and fallen into Sri Lanka. 500 millimeter rain. We have never heard about that kind of a rain. In my life, I have heard maximum 250 when I was small. ඊට වැඩි අපි රේන්නයක් අහලවත් නැහැ. We haven't even heard and seen. And first time 500 millimeter rain. My goodness, we were doomed. Right? 1000 එහෙම ආව නම් ඉවරයි. මේ ඔක්කොම cities ටික යට වෙනවා. We don't have such an irrigation system to get rid of that water. So that's because of a climate change. The fire and the power at the bottom. When I said Milao, you can be a condition to right? Okay. Listen. By the way, so what is global warming then? What's global warming? Now, summary. What's global warming? So what do you call global warming? What you class? Okay, why don't you tell in the other way around? It is an enhanced greenhouse effect due to the increase in greenhouse gases. Concentration of greenhouse gases by human due to burning of what? Fossil fuel. Right? Fossil fuel burn කරලා තමයි මේ global warming වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒක නිසා මේ trend එක හොඳද නැද්ද electric vehicles වලට යන එක? Is it good or bad? It's good. It's better. ඇයි ලංකාවේ එක කරන්නේ වෙන්නේ නැත්තේ? Why people are still what? Scared and worried? Because our people, they are still in the island mentality. We think about too much about what? Vehicles efficiency, durability, profitability. But other countries, especially developed countries, they think about their what? Their nature. They know that if electrical vehicles are used, the emission of what? Those toxic gases and pollutant gases will be minimal. So, yes, personally, it's not very profitable to use an electrical vehicle. But thinking globally, thinking countries' nature, they go for that. ලංකාවේ මිනිස්සු මොනවද හිතන්නේ? මේක තව අවුරුදු 5කින් කීයකට පුරවන්න පුළුවන්. පෙට්‍රල් වෙහිකල් එකක් වගේ ඩිමාන්ඩ් එක තියෙන්නේ. මොකද මිනිස්සු ලංකාවේ මිනිස්සු හිතන්නේ. Why? We don't have a strong scientific community. අපේ community එකේ science ඉගෙන ගත්ත proportion එක තාම අඩුයි. Therefore now, once you learn these things and have that inculcated in your brain, see what kind of a damage we do, then one day you will think of go for electrical vehicle easy. මම දවසක මේක විකුණලා electrical vehicle එකට යනවා අවුරුදු දෙකක්. මට කලින් නැතිඳ යන්න බැහැ. මම වෙච්ච දවසට ඕක විකුණලා යනවා. Right? And solar is there. You can, but ඒකවත් මිනිස්සු කැමති නැහැ. ඇයි කැමති නැහැ? Solar there is no profit, it's too expensive to put on the roof. The profit margin is less and all good big talks. But other countries, solar, good, put it. Why? That will protect my environment. That will reduce the use of what? Fuel. You have clean electricity. That's the scientific attitude other countries have. Ape? Ne. Hey, am I come? That's how we can develop. Okay, so then global warming is due to enhanced greenhouse effect. It is an enhanced greenhouse effect due to anthropogenic emission of excessive greenhouse gases. What? What are they giving me? What do you mean by anthropogenic emission? What call anthropogenic? Human made. Anthropogenic and man-made. Man-made can ban gender wise. Then woman made. Okay, now let's say human made. Taking the anthropogenic. Right? So anthropogenic excessive emission of greenhouse gases due to burning fossil fuel. Again, what the problem is? So too much of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere will give what? Undesirable temperature rises. Therefore, the Earth atmosphere temperature is hostile for the living beings. Global warming. Describe what is anthropogenic. Anthropology කියලා හරියද? Studying evolution of mankind or womankind. Describe the term global warming. Describe the term global warming. Write along. You got some idea in your head. I want you to write it down. නිදිමත් ඉන්නේ ඔයා. මොකද? ඉඳලා ඉඳලා. Hey, who's that? You can come. Anthropogenic. ANPHROPO. Anthropogenic. GENIC. Okay, did you write? In short, it's the enhanced greenhouse effect due to anthropogenic emission of greenhouse gases, excessive greenhouse gases due to burning of fossil fuel, right? Or if it is to Barabara terms, you can write what? When a lot of crude oil is burned, a lot of greenhouse gases will be emitted. These greenhouse gases give enhanced greenhouse effect. This is called global warming, right? So main culprit is what now? Carbon. Now we are contributing human, right? But what's the gas? Carbon dioxide. Methane is also there. Not only we do burning of fossil fuel, we do in some countries they do huge animal farms, cattle farms. So they emit also a lot of methane from both sides of them, right? From the mouth and also from the other side. These cows, they emit a lot of methane. Why? Because they are eating a lot of plant stuff where you have a lot of carbon. So there are some bacteria inside their digestive tract helping them to digest cellulose will become methane. So they want to get rid of it, right? So then that methane is released. So when we do like huge cattle farms, then there's huge amount of methane produced in a small area. That's also a reason. Okay. I think global warming at time we're going to have. Okay. Right. And what are the consequences of global warming? Yeah. Right now. Give 4 consequences of global warming. Give 4 consequences of global warming. Right? Can you tell me 4 of them? You remember one thing for sure. What was it? Huh? Sea level rise. Why does the sea level rise? Not only that. No. When the temperature rises, that makes the water to expand as well. Therefore, sea level rising is one thing, glacier melting is another one, right? So first one, melting of all ice caps for the glaciers and the increase of sea level. Then what will happen? The islands like Sri Lanka, Maldives will be gone. Okay? And third, the most disastrous one, what is that? Huh? Climate change. Climate change. Did we come across a climate change in Ditwa cyclone? Was it a climate change? That wasn't a climate change. That was called adverse weather. It was an adverse weather. What's the difference between adverse weather and climate change? The product it's important because you mainly know about the TikToks. That's all. You don't know about the world. For the K-pop dramas and songs and boys done a game gun. I mean, huh? No general knowledge. What is the difference between climate and weather? Adverse weather and climate change.
And we expect adverse weather is more towards like stuff, geological processes which happen in the earth itself. Sometimes it
Okay,
can
not
be.
bad. You have some idea at least. Climate change means, first of all, you understand what's meant by climate. ඔයා මොනවද මේ ලියනවා ඉවරයක් නෑ. ඉතින් දෙතුන් සැරයක් කිව්වම තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් තේරෙන භාෂාවෙන් කියන්න. ඒක ටික සැරයි. මම ඒකට කියනවා. හරිද? ඒක ටික සැර වැඩි. මේගොල්ලෝ කියන්න. සමහර අය උඩට අහගෙන තියෙනවා. පොලිස් ක්ලාස් එකේ ඒක මොනවයි දන්නවා. Right. What's meant by climate? Climate is what? The weather pattern of a country. For example, our country, we have throughout the year, we don't have like extreme seasons. We have a little bit of rainy season, bit of fall season, not even snowing. We have like drought. The drought doesn't stay for 2 or 3 months, right? Maximum several weeks. Such a blessed country in that way, right? That's our climate, tropical climate. But when you go to Arabian countries, dry climate, little rain, right? Mainly what? Dry zone, right? And in African continent, like you have several climate regions, okay? And cold countries. They're cold countries. Forever they are cold. And they have seasons. So those are called climate. Climate means the overall weather pattern of a country. What happens when the climate changes? It's a big problem for a country. For example, our country, suppose, slowly turns into a dry country. Then can we have these buildings, these clothes? No, we have to change everything. The whole social and economical structure should change, right? Because of global warming, if it happens, it becomes very warm and dry country, then everything should change, right? Now, for example, a country like very cold country is going to get their temperature increase and come to a kind of a soothing temperature environment. What about them? They are happy. Why? Now they can do agriculture, right? Throughout the year, they have like good temperature. So the country is like, no, like, we don't care, we go to dry zones and become desert. Because they become good food, right? That's why some countries are supporting a lot of fossil fuel, right? So geopolitics propaganda is also there. Right? Okay. However, what's adverse in weather effect? Weather is the temporary change in what? Uh, Temperature, rain, and stuff. So that also can happen due to the global warming. El Nino and La Nino effects in the world. Some areas suddenly get long droughts, which never existed. Some areas get huge rain, which never happened earlier. But it happened and go, not climate. So those are the problems of what? Global warming. You have to be very educated. Otherwise, we are not science students, right? පොඩ්ඩක් read කරන්න මේ දරුවෝ වගේ. හරි? අනිසා. ඔයගොල්ලෝ read කරන්නේ නැත්නම් මොනවද කරන්නේ? හරි? ලියන්න. හරි read. හරි. Yes. So what are the four? ඒකෙන්ද පුතේ read කරන්න ඕන. ඔයගොල්ලෝ read කරන්නේ අඩු ගානේ එන්නේ. I don't know. දැන් මගේ මේ වෙලාවේ මම Google open කරනවා. හරි? මට බය නැතුව පෙන්නන්න පුළුවන් මගේ Google එකේ එන අර Google එකේ පල්ලෙහා එනවනේ පොඩි පොඩි notifications. First one, the Nobel Prize winning physics says Elon Musk and Bill Gates are something related to physics and Nobel Prize. And then IQ test. Then a movie he has been watched all together, right? And war machine and all these things, right? And biometric AI robots. Again, under AI sense, right? And then quote of the day by Albert Einstein. ඕගලන්ගේ Google එකේ ඔපන් කරලා බලන්න කේතර කිව්ව මොනවද? Will you get that kind of view from it? They will turn tonight. Astronomers officially confirm the solar eclipse, right? All like some kind of like science related or entertainment related. So at least you read them. ඒව read කරන්නේ දැන් ඒවට අග්ගල් ස්වරෝ. අග්ගල් රෝල් කරා දැන් ඉන්නේ. එක්ක TikTok Snapchat, Instagram ඒව තමයි බලන්නේ. ඒක වුණත් තමයි even that you find something scientific learning. Neuroscientists say uh, neuroscientists say simple trick will help you to learn any new skills in few days. අඩු ගානේ එහෙම හරි update වෙලා ඉන්න general knowledge. Right? Okay. If you don't read the newsletters or papers, right? Okay. So liver adverse effect, climate change. A homework activity we are how to fight global warming, how to fight against global warming. Phosphate then dealer team answer. Answer. Yeah. Right. So we are done. We are done with this lesson. How we do the past paper? Take your past paper. Then let's discuss past paper. New students, we call it STT. I gave the slogan for that. Strive to thrive tutoring. So I have put some past paper questions that you have to do some extra work at home to improve yourself. So if you don't do that, if you wait very lamely until I do this, then there is no point, right? And the time is when it test time ki namadi. I took extra time to explain. But anyway, we'll quickly go through. None possible to take. Right. Right. Gases in atmosphere. The answers. Give me one. All right, we'll check the answers. All good. All right. So which of these gases is it that's going to be what? Is it called nitrogen? Right? Which of these is the approximate percentage of oxygen in dry air? 21%. One of the trace gases is carbon dioxide. Identify two reactions that produce carbon dioxide today. You learn, right? Complete combustion of alkanes. Sometimes you don't know these words. So don't worry, like it's not your problem. We haven't still done. Alkanes contain carbon and hydrogen. Therefore, when you burn them, you get carbon dioxide and water. Reaction between magnesium and hydrochloric acid, you don't get rusting of iron, not related. Copper carbonate, of course, will decompose to give what? Copper oxide and carbon dioxide, right? And name the environmental problem that occurs by percentage of carbon dioxide increasing in the atmosphere. It's called global warming. So there's some problems with the by the I'll give you the answers. So it's called global warming. Name the trace gas which highest percentage in dry, unpolluted air. Look at the answer. Name the trace gas with the highest percentage in dry, unpolluted air. What's the answer? Name the trace gas, not nitrogen. Trace gas means, can't hear. Carbon dioxide? No. The trace gas, that means the gas which is in low quantity, but highest among the low quantity gases, argon, 0.9%. It's argon. Argon, 0.9%. Right. Rainwater is acidic because carbon dioxide dissolves in water to form carbonic acid. Acid rain is more acidic than rainwater because acidic pollutants gases also dissolve in water. Give name of acid that forms when nitrogen dioxide dissolves in water. This also you need to understand. Carbon dioxide is an acidic gas. But when you dissolve that in water, it produces carbonic acid. So the normal rain droplet will have carbonic acid with the pH around 5.5, slightly acidic. But we don't call this what? We don't call this acid rain. It is the rain that our bodies have evolved to have, right? But if nitrogen dioxide or sulfur dioxide dissolves, when sulfur dioxide dissolves, you need to remember them, sulfurous acid is produced. Nitrogen dioxide dissolves. Interestingly, it gives you two acids, nitrous acid and nitric acid. So these are together, the pH is around 2 or 1. So they are too acidic. So that rain is too acidic. Okay. So then give the name of the acid that forms when nitric acid dissolved in water. You can write nitric or nitrous acid, doesn't matter. Nitric acid or nitrous acid. Name another pollutant gas that also forms acid rain, sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide or sulfur trioxide is also acceptable. Okay, no? You can write while I'm writing too. So this is also a nice experiment. You have mixture of gases, gas syringe, 1 cmDA division, right? The student pushes the mixture of gases out of syringe A, right? Syringe A, right? Good. And but no gas bubbles appear in the lime water. If one change that student needs to make, so you have to what? Dip the delivery tube in lime water. Dip the end of the delivery tube in lime water. Agreed? So, lime water you just learned today, it's calcium hydroxide waiting to absorb carbon dioxide, right? You know that point. When the apparatus in experiment 1 is set up correctly, the mixture of gases is bubbled gently through lime water so that all carbon dioxide is removed. The volume of mixture of gases syringe A 76. Nice question. And syringe B 66. So the difference should be what? Volume of the difference the volume of carbon dioxide because lime water absorbs the rest. So the volume of carbon dioxide will be 76 minus 66. That's 10. There here. Do you understand? And then that's the volume of carbon dioxide divided by the total volume, initial volume into 100. That's the percentage of carbon dioxide in that particular sample. So it's 10 divided by 76 into 100. Into 100. All right? Then. So what will happen to the appearance of lime water? It turns cloudy or it turns milky. It turns milky because calcium carbonate is going to precipitate. Calcium carbonate precipitate it turns milky. Okay. Explain why the gas syringe in the experiment cannot be used to find the percentage of carbon dioxide in typical sample of air. ඔන්නෝකට උත්තරේ දුන්නොත් ඔයා නියම වැට්ටෙක් මේ සිලබස් එකේ. ප්‍රශ්නෙට ආන්සර් එක දුන්නොත් you are a genius in this syllabus. Explain why the gas syringes in experiment 1 cannot be used to find the percentage of carbon dioxide in typical sample of air. So why can't we find it? You are very close. You basically get 1 mark. You are very close to it. මේ experiment එකේ normal air වල තියෙන carbon dioxide amount එක හොයන්න බැහැ කියලා කියන්නේ. You can't use this experimental setup to find the carbon dioxide amount in normal air. Your answer was so close. Oh, lamai. Oh. Yeah, you have an answer. Good try, but just wrong. Comment. Well, not comment then. Well, not comment. They are, normal there can be other gases. That's why the answer is not valid. But only carbon dioxide deserves in fine. You're close. But the standard of answer is not up to the O levels yet. You're close. The physics order related. ඒ මම මේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහනවා මෙයා ඉතින් තියාගෙන ලියනවා. Why? Any idea? No? මේ බලන්න තියා.
Yes, carbon dioxide is more dense.
So මේ බලන්න පුතේ. මොකද්ද carbon dioxide percentage එක එයාවල 0.04. What is the volume that you are going to use? 76. What is the volume of 0.04 out of 76 percentage? Here the volume is here. What's the volume? Percentage is 0.0. What's the volume? 0.0304 cm cube. That means when carbon dioxide is absorbed in this experiment, the final volume is 76 minus 0.0304. Right? That is, how much is that? 75.9696. Sorry, 696. 75.696. You know? 9696. Hari makali kiwe kene? Okay, my instincts are better. 75.9696. Is that clear? Look, can you measure such a small volume in this decision, the division? A division ne kiye තියෙන්නේ minimum measure කරන්න පුළුවන් කීයද ඔයාලට 1 අරකේ change එකෙන් කීයද 0.03. Can you measure using this syringe? On that level you should think in experiments, right? Nobody managed to think like that. Don't worry, right? At the beginning in the syllabus you are like this. Later on, once it is explained by a teacher, you start thinking like that too. Is that clear? Everyone make you wake up. Right? The answer the amount of carbon dioxide in the sample is very small, like 0.03, which cannot be measured using the syringe because the division is too big. So this calculation, so that much of understanding and quality has to be there with you. Okay, no? So I hope you guys understand the gravity of this exam and how much you can work on it. Name the black substance that forms in copper powder, that's copper. Name Mahande. Formula ලියලා copper to oxide. Copper to oxide. That substance is copper to oxide. And suggest why the teacher uses copper powder instead of same mass of large piece of copper. Powder has more surface area, so the reaction is faster. It is another lesson that you will be learning about it. Powder has more surface area, more surface area, more surface area. Therefore, reaction is faster. Reaction is faster. Reaction is faster. Explain why argon is extremely unreactive. It has full outer shell. In the atom, it has full outer shell. Full outer shell. So it doesn't, it means atom doesn't gain, remove, or share electrons. That's why it's inert, unreactive or inert. Right, next one. Identify the noble gas helium. Each gas may be used once or more than once. Okay. So you have two, no? You have argon and also you have helium. It's a noble gas. Identify gas that makes up 78% nitrogen. Nitrogen. Identify a greenhouse gas. Then done now. You know it, carbon dioxide. Identify gas produced by thermal decomposition of calcium carbonate, again carbon dioxide. Sulfuric acid, oxygen produce sulfur dioxide. Write a chemical equation for this. Sulfur plus oxygen, O2 gives you sulfur dioxide. Easy as that, very straightforward. State one environmental problem caused by sulfur dioxide gas dissolved in water, acid rains. Acid rains. Acid rains are the problems, right? Destroy the aquatic life and destroy the constructions. Rusting will be enhanced. Acid rains are the, okay. Right. Question number 4. Hydrochloric acid, calcium carbonate. We drew this diagram. What is the name of piece of apparatus containing the dilute hydrochloric acid? It's called tap funnel. It's called tap funnel. Thyssen funnel doesn't have a tap. Complete the reaction, 2HCl, carbon dioxide, calcium chloride, and water. Yeah. Huh? Did I miss anything? Any question? Make it. හරි කවන්නේ බේස් 10 එකේ එක බලන්න කොහොමද පොඩි පොඩි ඒ වගේ අතන කියන්න පුළුවන් ගණන් එපා up to that point tutorial was okay right? Right, which of these is true statement about carbon dioxide? It turns life on a milk. Everybody knows about it. The diagram shows how carbon dioxide is collected by downward delivery. Give a reason why carbon dioxide can be collected downward delivery. So carbon dioxide is what? More dense than what? More dense than air. That's why it goes down in air. Give another method collecting carbon dioxide. Over water method. Or you can collect it into a gas what? Syringe. Gas syringe. You can collect that into a gas syringe. When carbon dioxide dissolves in water, weakly acidic solutions suggest a pH value 6 to 5.5. State the change of color of the solid. We learned this. Copper carbonate is green, this is black. Copper carbonate green. Suggest two properties of carbon dioxide that makes it suitable to use fire extinguisher. One, it's non-combustible. It's a non-combustible gas. Non-combustible gas. And it's a denser gas. Denser gas than air. Or than oxygen. Okay, how come carbon dioxide does this fire extinguishing? Take a look. Do you know why fire exists, or what factors are needed for the fire to exist? Okay. What factor is there for the fire to exist? First of all, there should be what? There are three things. There should be a substance which can burn. What kind of substance එකක් තියෙන්න ඕන. ඉතින් ඔබ අහගෙන ඉන්නේ. Substance which can burn. One thing. So for example, this thing. Correct? Piece of wood. Fuel. Something. And there should be what? Oxygen. Because it's a reaction with oxygen gives a lot of heat. And also high temperature. If you remove any of them, the fire will stop. That's the fire extinguishing technique. You cool it, fire will reduce. You remove the substance, there is nothing to burn. You remove oxygen, the substance is there, oxygen isn't there. You use either one of them. So what happens when you use carbon dioxide? Here is the substance, here oxygen in there, but when you put carbon dioxide is denser. It will come down, oxygen will go up, and carbon dioxide will cover the object. Unseen, but it will cover the object. Because it is denser. 44 relative molecular mass, this is 32 relative molecular mass. Relative molecular mass, MR values. Therefore, it covers the object so that the substance is not in contact with what? Oxygen. That's how it protects things by burning. This is called fire triangle. You need these three for the fire to exist. Substance, oxygen, and temperature. Right, okay. So next one. Name the gas that is a compound. Compound means two different atoms attached, chemically bonded, therefore it will be what? Carbon dioxide, but write the name, they ask the name. Name the gas necessary for rusting to occur, oxygen, O2. Name the gas that bleaches most of litmus paper, second. Chlorine gas. Name the gas that has the highest percentage by volume in air, nitrogen. Do you have this question too? Right, name the gas that has the highest boiling point. How is the boiling point? Check it and write. What is that? Chlorine, right? Determine two gases that have the same relative molecular mass. Nitrogen and carbon monoxide, I guess. You find the value, this is 14 into 2, that is 28. And this is 12 plus 16, that's also what? 28. So do you have this question too? Question එක තියෙනවද? So we will discuss this question and I'll give you around 5 minutes and we do the gases in atmosphere test. Whether you like or not. Right? Can't put that into the other day. Next day, we'll be starting the new lesson. Right? Lepota syllabus එක ඉක්මනට කරන්න ඕන ළමයි. Right? මේ බබා කර ඉන්න බෑ. Say the advantage of using iron powder rather than pieces of iron. I just explained powder has more surface area, reaction is faster. Why it's necessary for the student to mix iron powder with water? Because water is necessary for rusting to happen, right? Water is a factor needed for rusting. Water is a factor needed for rusting. The student records the reading in the syringe, start at the experiment, and he then reading every day until there is no further change. Right? Volume reading at the start. What to start? Here the one to make a pain with the 71%, right? Sorry, 71 cm, right? Agreed. And at the end, how much is it? 16. Do you agree with 16? We do not. Right? Change in volume, subtraction, 55, isn't it? Right? Student repeated experiment obtained much smaller change in volume. Which of these could be the reason for the smaller change? The volume. Make the question. He has repeated the experiment. Wait, now, okay. What is the volume in the volume of oxygen in the sample utilized in rusting? Tell me. What is the volume in the sample utilized for the rusting? Yeah, with a process rusting. What is the volume in oxygen in the sample utilized? Here 55. Because it was used in rusting, that's why the volume has reduced. Do you understand? You understand? Sure. Right? They are asking, he repeated the experiment, he mixed iron and water and allowed to rust, repeated the experiment, and then after repeating once, he has got very smaller volume change. Why is that? That repeat color, how normally I can repeat color experiment. Why is that? There can be many reasons. Second, rusting hasn't happened well. For oxygen to reduce, rusting should happen well. Somebody has to utilize. So they have given some suggestions. He uses 10 cm cube of water instead of 5 cm cube. Not a very valid, you have given a lot of water, so the rusting should happen better. He leaves apparatus for a long time. That is even better. When you keep it long time, more rusting can happen. Then more oxygen will be used. Right? They are much smaller change in volume, not a smaller final volume, change in volume. That means amount of oxygen utilized is less. Longer time value for oxygen utilization. He leaves the apparatus in a warmer place. Warmer place, reaction is faster. Rusting should happen faster. That doesn't make the volume to decrease less. He uses a smaller mass of iron powder. That's the answer. Why? When you use small mass of iron, small amount of oxygen is needed. So then oxygen difference is what? Gas difference is less. That's the answer. So we'll put a smart pen on answers, select current. So doing another experiment, he has got this good question, right? Student incorrectly calculate percentage of volume of oxygen Identify the mistakes he has done. Volume of air in the conical flask, syringe reading at the start, syringe reading at the end. So this 70 is correct because it's 90 minus what? 20. Initial minus final. Eka hari. That's the volume of oxygen utilized. It has to be divided by the total volume. What's the total volume? The glass tube 250, initial volume 90, right? In the command කරන්න ඕනේ mistake එක 90 නෙමෙයි මෙතන දාන්න ඕනේ මොකද 250 plus 90. That's the correct answer. Identify the mistake. The initial volume is 250 plus 90. Use values from the table, correctly calculate that. That means 70 divided by 250 into 250, wait, sorry, 340 into 100. So what's the value you get?
Thank you.
20, exact. 20.58%. They haven't told you to write it in any significant figure, so they keep it as 20.58. I think that's all, right? Yeah. Right, I'll give you 5 minutes to go through your lesson and then we'll do the test.